How are you? This is Oliver Fernandez with the Imperfect Entrepreneur. Today, we're going to dig into what it takes to be a business owner, what it takes to be a successful business owner, what it takes to be a 10x business owner. So, great week with the kids. This past weekend, we had a trip where we needed to get a lot of just housekeeping things done. Like we need to get a new car. Kids are starting to outgrow the current car we have. So went and checked all that stuff out. We did a bunch of returns for some of the kids' clothing that we've gotten, but it was just so cool just to spend the whole day with the kids out, starting at like 7:30 out the door, and didn't get back to 9:30 after finishing a great dinner with my in-laws. It was really cool. So we're going to talk about what it takes to be a successful business owner. And, you know, I've struggled with this. You know, like when I first got into business, I was mainly in like the real estate side of things. And, you know, I wanted to just mainly have like subcontractors, so I didn't have to have, you know, that many people. I could just, you know, mainly just be myself and run a business. And like that's not really a business, you know, that's like a solopreneur. Like that's like you know, you could do really well that way, but I don't really consider that like a big business or a business that you can actually use to build the life of your dreams, because you're just so stuck and ingrained in the business. So, you know, now looking back at that situation over 10 years, I'm just like, holy cow, how much we've grown, and how much, you know, I've personally grown, and being able to have these courageous conversations. You know, it first started out when the business was in $500,000 in the hole, and me and my dad were running the business, and he wanted to continue to do subcontract work, and I wanted to move away from subcontract work and start doing work directly for the owners and being the prime contractor. I had to have a courageous conversation with him at that time. And that's what it takes to be a successful business owner. That's what it takes to get to the next level. You can't just be pushed around as a business owner and think you're going to be successful. And that was the first time in my life I'd ever stood up to my dad in a big way. You know, like in a way where it was like, where it almost got to a physical altercation. And my dad's a big guy, you know, and like he's always like, I've always had that like level of respect where it was like, I wouldn't cross that line. And there has been a lot of times where there's been like, you know, domestic violence, and it was always me more of like taming down the situation versus me like standing up to the situation, right? Like I would stand up to the situation and protect my family and my sisters and my mom, but I never like stood up in a way where it was like toe to toe, mano a mano. And it wasn't until the business was at a crossroads, and it's like, are we going to continue to lose money and not put ourselves in a position to win, or put ourselves in a position where we're doing amazing on these projects, but we're a subcontractor, so we're getting our payments held up 90 to 120 days, and it's not working for me, and it's not working for the business. And then that's when I had to step up and just say, hey, like this isn't going to work, and you go your way, and I'm gonna take this business and go its way. And it was like $500,000 in a hole. We had 0 contracts and just gutted it out with finding new projects and worked out payment plans with all of our vendors. And it was scary. I mean, I had never even made 6 figures up in that point. So imagine the level of courage that had to come out of me. And it was like, I grew like 100 feet in a year, because I was just, every challenge that you could think of, I had to overcome it, or the business was toast. And if the business was toast, I was toast. I was personally liable for all this stuff, right? Like my financial future was toast. So like it was so painful growing, and it was like, but I had to do it. And that's what it takes to be a successful business owner. That's what it takes to be a 10x business owner. You have to be willing to grow and have the courageous conversations with the people in your environment. I just got off a call, earlier this morning. I had to have another courageous conversation, and you could feel them coming. Like you can feel them coming. You can feel when you have to say something, you have to stand up and say something. And most people, they don't say anything, and then they're just like, okay, yeah, we'll just make it work. And then next thing you know, a year down the road, and they feel like they're being taken advantage of, and they're sour. And then next thing you know, it's just like bubbles over, and there's like, I'm out of here, and there's a big fight, and the relationship is destroyed. Or you could step up to the plate in the beginning, and if all your partners are people that are good people, that are willing to give and take, because their vision is not just on the right here, right now, but it's on the big picture of the organization. Having those courageous conversations actually breathe life into the organization. They allow the organization to transform. So, like a little example of that conversation was we have a part of the business where like my business partner doesn't want to be a signer on the bonds anymore. So like, if you're not going to be a signer on the bonds, like you're not taking the level of risk required to be receive equal ownership on the profits. And it's also hard to do, because like he's my partner, right? He's helped me grow and transform tremendously. He's impacted my life tremendously. But at the same time, if we don't have this conversation, we're going to be out of alignment, and all of a sudden this person is getting the cost that they're getting is not equal to the value that they're providing, and we're just out of alignment, and over time it just erodes at the relationship. So it's gonna end badly anyways. Or you could upfront have the conversation where at that point where that person's saying, they don't want to be a signer anymore, it's like, okay, they're good people. There's a give and take, and they're more likely to agree and move forward and continue to build. So these courageous conversations, they come up all the time, and you could feel when they're coming up. I mean, I've had them with employees, right, and team members. Where a team member comes in and they have all these demands. They're like, hey, I want to get paid this, and I think I see these ads that you have out there, and why are you still trying to hire somebody? Like, I'm here, like I'm doing that job. It's like, some business owners will shy away from that and be like, oh, we'll take down that ad, like, no problem. Like, I don't want to offend you. I don't want you to leave. Or you could say, like, hey, big picture, like, we're trying to build an organization that's going to $100 million. You personally can't do all of the work that's going to be required to do $100 million. And the reason why I know that is because I couldn't even do it to try to get to 10 million. So like, we're going to need more people. And if we don't have our fishing rods in the water looking to hire other good people, we may miss out on that good person that can add value to the organization now. And that's a great conversation to have. It's one of those courageous conversations. But if you don't have an understanding of how to have that conversation in a way where, you're willing to maybe upset a team member, maybe tell a team member that they're overstepping their bounds by making that type of request, but then also at the same time explaining to them the big picture of why this is happening, so that they still stay aligned with the team, and then they still continue to produce and continue to go out there and have an impact on the organization while they're also enhancing their own lives. Like, those are the types of conversations that need to be had. And they've been an absolute game changer for me and my business. And one of the examples that or the framework that we use to have these conversations is is vision, commitment, execution. So I always, a lot of times, and what I'm noticing is like when you have these conversations, there's so much focus on like the transaction. But if you're focused on the transaction, you can't see the vision. So you gotta have that conversation where you're explaining the vision, the big why behind all of this stuff, and why it needs to be like this, and why we need to go in this direction. And then it's like, I'm committed to making this thing work, and like, I need your commitment to make this thing work. And then the execution is the plan that we need to put in place to continue to build and grow and scale this thing. And then like a lot of times that execution plan is, I need you to continue to, to be a good partner, to be a good team member, and continue to add value to the organization. And at the same time, the plan to execute on is we're going to continue to look for new people. We're going to have these difficult conversations as partners so that we don't get out of alignment and we have a bigger resentment 1 year, 2 years, 3 years down the road. So it's all of those conversations that allow you to go and 10x your business. And it all starts with that muscle of building your courage muscle. Building that character trait of courage, digging deep into it, and actually when those situations come up in your business, in your life, not shying away from them, but actually having the conversation, and having the conversation in a way that it's productive. Like, yeah, you can have the conversation and fly off the handle and create a bigger problem, or you can have that conversation and make it productive. And that's how you go and continue to scale your business to what you always dreamed of, is by having a productive conversation, putting one step after the next step after the next step. And then all of a sudden these conversations and these courageous moments stack on top of each other. And next thing you know, you're scaling, you're growing, you're putting things together that you never dreamed of putting together. You're hitting your 5-year goal in 2 years. That's how you go out there and build your legacy. So go out there and continue to roll and build your legacy.